My dear viewers, now it is 3 p.m. here in Cairo. Time for the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I have all the pleasure to be joined with my dear colleague Lubna Yahya. Hello, Lubna.
Hello, Amal, and hello, everyone. We're going to start right away with the headlines. President El-Sisi speaks on bilateral ties and regional developments with the European Council President. Foreign Minister Abdulati hails promoted bilateral ties with the European Union in a meeting with EU's Parliament President. And Lebanon's parliament-elect army commander Joseph Aoun as president, breaking a 2-year deadlock.
Welcome back to the news in detail. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi today called on the European Union to support Egypt's efforts for restoring regional stability, particularly that the country hosts more than 9 million migrants as a result of the crises and conflicts marring the Middle East. President el-Sisi made these remarks in a phone call with the European Council President Antonio Costa, where warned of the repercussions of an expansion of regional conflict to an all-out war, and hailed the bloc's role in pressuring for a ceasefire in Gaza and holding the ceasefire deal brokered in Lebanon. The president also reiterated Egypt's absolute rejection of the attempt liquidation of the Palestinian cause through the focused evacuation of Palestinians from their lands, and also pressed for launching an all-inclusive Syrian political process that will help preserve its territorial integrity and sovereignty. The head of state also greeted the top European official over assuming the post and voiced Egypt's keen interest in boosting bilateral ties along the strategic partnership binding the two parties.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi today urged intensifying efforts for the rational governance of the resources and assets of ongoing development projects based on the best global standards. Meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Ministers of Housing and Urban Societies, Investment, Foreign Trade, along with a number of top officials, the President stressed the necessity that these new projects cope with the national strategy for economic development with the aim of attracting more foreign investments. President el-Sisi was briefed on the pace of work and housing projects and constructions at the new administrative capital.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi today asserted that enforcing the two-state solution is the only option for achieving sustainable peace and stability in the region. The president made these remarks in a meeting with the European Union's Parliament President Roberta Metsola, where they reviewed Egypt's efforts for hammering out a ceasefire in Gaza, which ensures the release of captives and hostages and facilitates the access of humanitarian aid. The meeting touched on the developments in Syria, with the president reiterating Egypt's keen interest in the territorial integrity of our country and the necessity that it witnesses an all-inclusive political process which comprises all Syrian parties. Enhanced bilateral ties also featured at the talks, particularly cooperation on combating illegal migration and terrorism, along with the other regional crises hitting Libya, Sudan, and Somalia.
Minister of Foreign Migration, Egyptian Expatriates Affairs Badr Abdulati today hailed the positive progress witnessed in ties with the European Union since its promotion to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2024. The minister made these remarks as he received the European Union's Parliament President Roberta Metsola, where he urged the implementation of different axes on such a partnership, including in the economic aspect. Abdulati said he is looking forward to the bloc's accreditation of the second tranche of European financing to to Egypt to the tune of €4 billion. Meanwhile, the top diplomat received a delegation of the Palestine Liberation Organization where he reiterated Egypt's support for the Palestinian Authority and its rejection of any attempts to evacuate Palestinians out of their homeland. He reviewed Egypt's efforts for striking a ceasefire agreement in Gaza and securing the unhindered access of humanitarian aid to the war-torn Strip.
Lebanese lawmakers elected Army Chief Joseph Aoun as head of state today, filling the vacant presidency and breaking a two-year deadlock. Earlier in the day, Lebanon's Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri adjourned a session held this morning to elect a president for 2 hours of consultations after first round of voting failed to produce enough votes for Lebanese Army Commander Joseph Aoun. Berri said that Aoun fell short of the 86 votes needed in a first-round vote, but crossed the threshold with 99 votes in the second round after lawmakers from Hezbollah and Amal movement backed him.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken voiced hope for a lasting peace in Lebanon after the United States reported an Israeli occupation pullout. Blinken, speaking to reporters in Paris, said that more than a third of Israeli occupation forces in Lebanon have withdrawn since the ceasefire between the occupation military and Lebanese group Hezbollah. Blinken said that while challenges remain, the oversight mechanism put together by the United States and France to address concerns about ceasefire violations is working and well functioning.
UN peacekeepers in Lebanon patrol near the Lebanese border ahead of a deadline for a truce between Hezbollah and the Israeli occupation troops that some residents fear will not hold. The United Nations interim force in Lebanon said that the situation is still very fragile, adding that its members are carrying out patrols to help prevent any further escalation of the violence. Under the November 27 ceasefire deal, the Lebanese army is to deploy alongside UN peacekeepers in the south as the Israeli occupation troops withdraw over a 60-day period, which expires on the 26th of January.
Battles between Turkish-backed groups supported by airstrikes and Kurdish-led forces reportedly killed 37 people today in Syria's northern Manbij region. The latest reported fighting came after Turkey on Tuesday threatened a military operation against Kurdish forces in Syria unless they accepted Ankara's conditions for a bloodless transition after ex-Syrian Bashar al-Assad's fall. The U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces spearheaded a military campaign that ousted Daesh terrorist group from their last territory in Syria in 2019.
Syria's UN Ambassador Kusheya al-Dahak told the United Nations Security Council that the time has come to end the humanitarian suffering in his country, to enable Syrians to live in security and prosperity, to live the native life and to build a better future for their country, in a message he said was addressed to the Syrian Transitional Authority. Al-Dahak noted that for this reason he called upon the United Nations and its member states to immediately and fully lift the unilateral coercive measures to provide the necessary financing to meet the Syrian people's humanitarian needs and to recover basic services.
Israeli occupation forces pounded Gaza today, killing at least 12 people, including 3 girls, 15 months into a genocide war in the Palestinian enclave. The Palestinian Civil Defense Agency reported that 3 girls and their father were killed when an airstrike hit their house.
Well, aid organizations demanded safe and also unhindered aid access into the Gaza Strip racked by hunger and where babies are freezing to death even as more hospitals face a closure amid fuel shortages. The International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies said that heavy rain and flooding have ravaged the makeshift shelters in Gaza, leaving thousands with up to 30 centimeters of water inside the damaged tents. The Doctors Without Borders charity meanwhile warned that 3 large hospitals further south were on the verge of closing due to the lack of fuel. Well, Egypt have unveiled several discoveries near the famed city of Luxor, including ancient rock tombs and burial shafts dating back to 3,600 years.
They were unearthed at the causeway of Queen Hatshepsut's funerary temple at Deir el-Bahri on the Nile's west bank. It said it worked in tandem with the Supreme Council of Antiquities on the site since September of 2022. The details.
Archaeologists have uncovered intact portions of the foundation wall of pharaonic Queen Hatshepsut's Valley Temple in Luxor and the nearby tomb of Queen Titi Shari, grandmother of Ahmose I, the first pharaoh of Egypt's Golden New Kingdom era. The discovery of more than 1,000 decorated stone blocks on the outskirts of Hatshepsut's funerary temple above was announced on Wednesday by team leader Zahi Hawass, an Egyptian archaeologist and former Minister of Antiquities who has been leading excavations at the site since 2022. The 18th dynasty Queen Hatshepsut, who died in about 1458 BC, was one of a small handful of women to have ruled Egypt. Her valley temple was initially demolished centuries later. Hawass said that this is the first time that they discover 1,500 decorated blocks, the most beautiful scenes they have ever seen in their life with the color. A limestone tablet found at the site bore the name of Hatshepsut's architect Senmut, who oversaw construction of the temple. Queen Teti-Shari, whose tomb was found nearby, was grandmother of Ahmose I, who liberated Egypt from the Hyksos peoples who had invaded Egypt from across Sinai to the east. She died in the 9th year of Ahmose's reign, a century before Hatshepsut's. The simple tomb was carved in rock and lay at the end of a mud brick valuted chapel with red wall drawings painted on a layer of white mortar.
World of Business and Finance, Egyptian Gas Association Executive Chairman Khalid Abu Bakr said today that Egypt has become a strategic and regional hub for trading in and exporting of gas and energy in the East Mediterranean region. Abu Bakr, who is also a member of the Federation of Egyptian Chambers of Commerce, said that after the Ukrainian crisis, Russia has cancelled an agreement whereby it transfers gas to Europe through Ukraine, a decision that added a further pressure to secure other sources of gas. He pointed out that gas could be transferred through Egypt's liquidation stations in the Mediterranean Sea. Thus, the country is classified as one of the most important gas transfer countries for the European Union, given the possibility of increased gas supplies through it, particularly in winter, amid lack of gas reserves in the European countries.
Egypt's markets traded higher today. The weekend session amid purchases by Arab investors against sell-offs by local and foreign investors. The market capital of listed companies reached £2.197 trillion amid overall transactions of £6.3 billion. The benchmark index EGX 30 rose 0.12%. The equal-weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 climbed 0.64% and 0.48% respectively.
The World world of sports, Barcelona reached their third successive final of the Spanish Super Cup after a 2-0 win against Athletic Bilbao. Barcelona opened the scoring after 17 minutes, and teenage Lamine Yamal netted the second early after the break. Barcelona, the most successful Super Cup side with 14 trophies, will face the winners of today's semi-final between holders Real Madrid and Mallorca in the final on Sunday.
While Tottenham secured a 1-0 win over Liverpool in the English League Cup semi-finals in the first leg match after taking the lead in the 86th minute. However, Liverpool still have the chance to overturn the deficit and reach the final when the two teams meet again in the second leg at Anfield on the 6th of February if the Reds manage to win by 2-goal differences. Liverpool, the defending League Cup champions, so its 24-match unbeaten run in all competitions come to an end, and there was a hint of controversy about only the team's second loss of this season. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of our news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I had all the pleasure to be joined with my dear colleague, Lubna Yahya. Thank you, Lubna.
Thank you, Amal, so much, and thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.